Hello, everyone, and welcome to episode 38 of the North Star Podcast. Today we have Nash Harrison today on the pod. Nash is a real estate agent, but he will also go in a little bit of a intro on who he is and what he does and his story, and it'll be a good podcast. I have some cool questions for him too, and Nash, thanks, man, for being here today.
Thanks for having me.
Yeah,
always a pleasure.
Yeah, so like I said, man, just like tell us a little bit about yourself, like what you do, and it can be anything. It can be your story, it can be what your profession is, and you can go from there. So.
Well, first and foremost, obviously, I am a realtor. I've been a real estate agent for 2.5 years.
Cool.
Before that, I was an electrician. I did electrical for 12 years. I actually wanted to get into real estate, and prior to that, actually 2015, so quite a number of years before I actually did, but there was certain speed bumps, I guess, that I hadn't hit and needed to get over. But yeah, I mean, I've grown up in Mission my whole life. I don't, I'm a real estate agent right now, but who knows what happens. I love it. And I'm just kind of going with the flow.
Okay.
Yeah.
What made you switch careers?
What made me switch careers? Well, this is probably the same thing that I would say everybody goes through. I graduated high school, and as soon as I graduated high school, my parents said, okay, time to get a real job.
Yeah.
And I went, what? And I had no idea what I wanted to do. So my dad is an electrician, my brother's an electrician, my grandfather was an electrician. So I guess I was going to be an electrician. And the plan was I would start my apprenticeship, I would get my ticket, which I did, and while I went through my apprenticeship, I would figure out what I actually wanted to do. I got my red seal, and I feel like snap of a finger, 12 years went by. I was 30 years old. I was still doing electrical. I never wanted to do it in the first place. And I just thought, you know what? If I don't actually make a decision on what I want to actually do, it'll probably be another snap of the fingers. I'll be 40 and I'll still be an electrician. So, like I said, I bought my first house in 2015. The realtor that I used at the time, she kind of brought me in through the whole experience of, writing a contract, kind of negotiating back and forth with the seller's agent, and I thought it was very interesting and unique. And I thought, you know what, I think I can do this. So I turned 30 and I said, you know what, instead of putting this off from 2015 until now, let's just do it. And it's exactly what I did. So.
Did you have kind of like a transition period where you quit completely doing electrical?
No, I did. I did both jobs for 1 full year. All right. So the reason I say that I wanted to do real estate in 2015 and I didn't was because I had a bit of an issue with alcohol.
Okay.
And in 2015, I knew that if I was to get my books, try to go down that path, it wasn't going to work out. I knew that I could not be a realtor if I was drinking alcohol, just because alcohol didn't change who I was as a person during, when having drinks and whatnot and having a good time with friends and whatnot. It was after. It was the next day it was put me specifically into a massive dark hole for multiple days. I'm typically a very personable person. I get along with just about everybody. And, I guess when I was hungover, I was the complete opposite. I was a shell of myself. So, like I said, I wanted to be a realtor from 2015, but it wasn't until I turned 30 and I committed to cutting out alcohol. That's when things really took off for me.
So now this transition, these last 2 years, the first year you said you were doing a little bit of both. This last year has been just the one job, is that correct?
Full-time realtor.
How's that been?
So I've been a full-time realtor for just about a year and a half now.
Okay.
And the first year, it was probably the most difficult thing I've ever done. I think most people probably think that, being a realtor is very glamorous, and you wear suits, you make tons of money and drive a nice car, and everyone just comes running to you, sell my house, this and that. And there's probably people out there that are, the top producers that they live that life. And even when they're living that life, I can assure you that behind the scenes, it's still not like that. But it's a grind, man. Like when I went full time, I did 1 year of both. I did electrical and I did real estate, and all things considered, I did fairly well as a first year realtor. And then in January the following year, I went full time, and I was excited to quit my job. And it was kind of like, call my old company. Yeah, I'm done putting the 2 weeks in, and then here's the date. It's official. I am now no longer an electrician, and I am just a realtor. So, that day I woke up that morning, I was like, here I am. I sat down on the couch, and it was like, okay, should be getting a few calls here soon. People should be calling, ringing the phone, and that never happened. And I think I waited a full week, just every day waking up, sitting on the couch, like, what's going on here? And that's when I guess things really started to become a reality on, like, this job, working for yourself. I don't think it matters if you're a realtor, if you're whatever, just a small business owner, right? Like you guys owning a gym, it doesn't matter. Like, you get out what you put in. So when I first started, I wasn't doing anything, and it took me a while to really get moving. And when I went full time, it took 8 months before I actually found something that I could commit to, which then translated into the business starting to churn. And now, it's been, since I went full time, it's been, what are we in, May? So it's been just about a year and a half. And now things are actually, like, I'm here now. Like, I feel like I've cemented myself as a real estate agent.
Cool.
Yeah.
Do you, how did the first time feel selling your first home?
It was awesome. It was nerve-wracking. It was a good feeling. Like, I helped a friend of mine from high school. We bought a condo, and it was a great feeling. The first one didn't feel, the first one felt great, but everything probably leading up until probably January of this year, that's when it's really started to feel much better, because now I do feel like this is for me. And so all the sales, all the homes I helped purchase for clients leading up to there, they were all extremely important. But I always had a little bit of, it's always in the back of your mind, like, is this going to work out? Is this going to work out? And so now actually making it all happen consistently and having that thought process in my head of, I'm here, I'm not going anywhere. It's just a different feeling. You
feel more secure, you'd
say?
Yeah. Do you, when it comes down to your day-to-day, week-to-week, month-to-month, let's just say, what does that kind of look like as a realtor?
Well, first and foremost, I try to, I don't really have an exact time that I get up every day. It's usually between 6 and 8 o'clock. But first thing I usually do is I just get up. I have a tea, kind of just sit and relax, and then I'll just hit the gym and fitness lab, and that's what always starts my day. And pretty much for me, if I'm not working with actual clients, setting up showings, researching properties for whoever, what I really focus on more than anything is I go and shoot content. I shoot property tours. So I go to listings that are already on the market. I'll shoot my own cinematic walkthrough video. I'll post it on my social media accounts. And my whole point is trying to get as much exposure out to other realtors, but more than anything, I am trying to attract buyers to purchase their listings. So realistically, it's just another form of advertising, but in my opinion, it's more of a personable advertising. right? You know, people will buy bus bench ads, right? Well, and you know, you'll drive around town and you'll see the same people on the bus everywhere you go.
I know most of them.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
And but for me, this is like that in advertising, but at the same time, you actually get to see me as a person, right? Like I've got my intro to every single video I post, and and you'll actually get to know me a little bit. Like you'll see my mannerisms, so people will continue to watch my videos. And the thought process is, you know, you might watch my videos, you've never met me, you've never talked to me, you've never seen me in your life, but you've watched 50 videos that I've posted because you follow my account. And I've had this happen. So next thing you know, is some random guy comes up to you and he says, "Hey, you're that TikTok realtor. I know you." Yeah. And then you have a little dialogue and yeah, so it's a better form, in my opinion, of doing the advertising that everyone's doing already. It's one extra layer to it. So.
You're saying you do all your own editing and all that?
Yeah,
kind
all
of
of
stuff?
that. I do my own editing. I started doing this in November.
Okay, cool.
Yeah.
So that was your start of it.
Yeah.
Do you find that your outreach has gotten a lot better since you've
exploded.
done it? Yeah.
It's exploded. And this is another, when I think most people, especially nowadays, most people are probably looking for instant gratification. And I think that's probably a reason why a lot of people might give up on ideas, right? You know, you come up with an idea and you think, I think this will work. Whether it's, say, advertising for real estate to try to get your name out there. So let's just say property tours, like what I do. So this is an idea that I think is going to work. So I'll shoot a couple property tours and I got my account, and next thing you know, I've shot 5 property tours in 2 weeks and I got nothing. I got no views, no reach outs, nothing. There's no instant gratification there. And I think a lot of people, it's probably easy to get discouraged and try something else. And it's almost like you don't give something enough time to let it really churn. So and everything that's worth doing has to take time. You have to go through your trial and error phase. You have to learn. You have to get comfortable in what you're doing, and people need to see you get comfortable in what you're doing. So at the very beginning, when you're trying something new for the first time and you're screwing up and whatnot, you know, that people are going to look at that and they might think, "Oh, I don't know about this guy. I mean, he's interesting, so maybe I'll follow him, but I don't know." You know, you keep doing it and you see consistency, and then next thing you know, it's everything. You just have to work at it. So that's it.
What's the in your industry, what time frame do you see usually people start to trust you? Like, so for example, in the fitness space, usually like retention wise, sometimes it takes, for most people now, before COVID was better because a lot of people decided to become quote unquote online coaches, and it kind of saturated the space, and people don't trust people as much anymore because, you know, there were people that were coaches that weren't probably qualified to be coaches. It used to be like 3 to 6 months. Now it's about 6 to 12 months before like you can give someone as much value and you give them like all this information before they like actually either first reach out to you or even like buy anything from you.
Yeah.
What do you find that is the time frame in your industry?
That's a hard question. Like there's a couple different layers, I'd say, to real estate. You know, like you could meet somebody could meet you for the first time, and if you guys just click, then they'll probably give you an opportunity. And everyone has to remember in the real estate space that we're not, like, for example, take a car. A car is a big investment in itself. We're not even talking about a car. We're talking about a home. We're talking about hundreds of thousands of dollars. So, you know, it's hard to say. Like, I think for people around you that are watching you, the people that know you, you know, I'd say it probably takes a couple years. Like, people want to know that there's a lot of people that come into the space and it doesn't work out, and then they leave because it's difficult. So on that journey, you'll probably get a couple people that they know you personally, so they'll They'll work with you. You'll help them. You'll do a good job. But there's not enough people at the very beginning that are just going to reach out to you and give you an opportunity. So you have to, at the very beginning, you need to be showing who you are. You need to be showing your work ethic. You just have to be grinding. Like you have to be going out every single day and making it happen. Show people consistency. And over time, realistically, you're going to be able to get the people that have hesitancy because they know you, and they know that you're just starting off as an entrepreneur. It's going to take them a while. It's going to take them years to build that trust. Even if they trust you as a person, when we're dealing with financials and everything else, that's a whole different side of the spectrum. So they need to see growth in you to be able to take that leap with you. So that's why you might have all these people on the sidelines that are watching you and down the road considering using you, but you have to get people that you don't know to work with you to build up your rapport, to build up your base. And you need to do a good job with every single person you ever work with while you're working your way up. And I think if you talk to the heavy hitters out there, the ones that have cemented themselves and done a really good job for a long time, it probably takes, some people say 5 years, 7 years. I think if you can last into your third year, just from what I've been told, if you can last to your third year, there's a good chance that you've got something going. Yeah. That's not to say that it's going to last forever, because you might get to your third year and you're doing well. You can't stop. You cannot stop. You have to keep pushing. So, but I'd say the typical number that most people say to me that in the real estate space, other realtors say probably about 5 to 7 years. You got to be doing this from 5 to 7 years. You have to survive 5 to 7 years, and then that's when referrals start to happen, and then those people that trust you, they branch your name out to different avenues, and then you just keep going.
Well, and yeah, the thing about homes is like people are not buying them every year usually, like no. One individual, right? So it's like usually you might have someone that bought a house with you on, let's say, this year, but now wants to sell it in 10 years, but that might be a client 10 years from now.
Exactly.
So it's a very unique industry, because I've had conversations about this in regards to the length of time as well, because it's a very odd way in the aspect of the length of time that sometimes all of a sudden, like I said, year 10, you're going to have that person that's like looking to sell again.
Yeah.
That bought from you 10 years ago because they're now looking for something different. So it's just like, it's always, it's interesting how it all kind of works out. My question though, in regards to all this is, as someone who's starting out, I actually don't know this stat. I don't even know if these stats are available, but what's a good amount of homes sold in a year or in a 2-year period for someone who's brand new?
I don't know if you can really put a number on that. It depends on your goals.
Okay.
Right? For me, when I was doing both careers, I did 8 deals my first year. Like I helped
8 people,
eight groups of people, and that wasn't what I wanted. I wanted more, but that combined with the other career, that was a good year for me. Yeah. And then the following year, what did I do? I did 5. So that was when I went full time, sat back, didn't have a clue how to help new people. And it showed, and now that I've actually figured out a way that works for me to get across to more people, I've blown my first 2 years out of the water already, and we're not even halfway through.
Nice.
So it's hard to say what a good number is. It just depends on what you want to do as a person.
Okay.
Like every single person is different. If you have a career that you love, and then real estate is just a a side thing, I don't think real estate is the thing for you, because you need to be, you got to be all in. Mm-hmm. You have to be all in. Because I know as a potential buyer per se, or if I wanted to sell my house and move into something else, I'm not looking for the guy who works as a gym owner, but also is a realtor on the side, right? I'm not interested in that. I want somebody who is all in, and I can put all my trust in and know that they're on top of it, right? They don't have other distractions, other jobs, other careers, none of that. You know, everyone has distractions in their lives with life, but as far as a career goes, real estate isn't the thing to be half in. You're all in or you're out. Mm-hmm. And anybody who tries to do that will probably learn fairly quickly that that's not going to fly.
What's for you then? Okay, I'll ask a question based off you then. What do you feel like is too much in 1 month when it comes to selling?
I don't know. I don't know what that looks like. It hasn't happened to me.
Okay, so you haven't gotten to that point yet.
Yeah.
So you've been able to handle everything.
If I get, so we got 31 days in a month. Maybe if I've got 31 things, 31 transactions going on,
that would be,
maybe we'll see then.
Yeah.
But I mean, like, it just depends, man. Like, there's enough time in the day to maneuver some things. I think the more busy you get, you're really going to come to an understanding of how you operate and things that are going to have to change. Like, I know as I'm progressing, I've had to get better with time management. I've had to get better with managing my calendar. You know, I've had things double book, and then you're going backwards trying to mitigate the damage, and, you know, okay, can I fit you in here instead? And you're dealing with people, so, you know, they're moving things around in their own schedule to make it all work. So it's just, you just gotta figure it out as you go. Yeah. But I haven't gotten to that point yet, but I will. I'll get to that point where it's like, okay, this is
too much.
This is a lot. Yeah.
Because is it, from my understanding, and maybe I'm incorrect, but there's like, for you as the individual, are you working under a specific company, or are you your own company?
I'm my own. So I hang my license up at a brokerage.
Okay.
Right. So I work for, I shouldn't say I work for Home Life, but yeah, my brokerage is Home Life Advantage Realty, Central Valley. But, you know, I'm a sole proprietor.
Okay.
So I work for myself, but I'm licensed at Home Life.
So could you start your own brokerage then? Is that like something that
people can, but there's a lot involved in that.
Okay.
Yeah, like it's a big thing to do. I don't really know the ins and outs. I haven't even there's no point in even delving into that. I mean, I love where I'm at, so I love, you know, my brokerage, and they take care of me. So, but I don't really know that whole aspect of it.
Okay.
Yeah.
Interesting. And then working, would you see yourself having someone work under you as your own business and as you move forward? Is that something that you've ever envisioned?
Yeah, I mean, I think as you get busier, you get assistants that help manage paperwork and set up the day-to-day for you, so you can really focus on being with your clients and giving your clients everything you can, right? 'Cause at the end of the day, you're just trying to build a relationship with this person. So, yeah, I'm not there yet, but I'd say I'm getting close to probably getting an assistant. That would be that. I'd say that's the next step. That's the direction that I'm going to. Yeah.
The reason I'm asking is because I've talked to, I'm going to be honest, I've had 2 other realtors, and one was like kind of like you said, around that like 5 to 7, and then another one that's been like 20 or something like that. So it's like, for me, it's really cool to see kind of the stages that everyone's at.
Absolutely.
Like what the conversations that I'm having.
Yeah.
Just because it's really interesting to see like what you envision or how you do things that are different, because the era that when those individuals started has also changed from what you're doing now, right?
Yeah.
If somebody started in 2005, well, a lot has changed
Big
in
time.
20 years. So it's interesting to see just how you've pivoted and you've shifted and how you do things, because I think it's really cool to hear different sides of stories that you don't always get to hear from the ins and outs of it.
Yeah.
I do want to talk a little bit about challenges, though, and some stuff that you've really felt that has been challenging since you've started, and what some things people might not understand about what you have to deal with when it comes down to your day-to-day stuff.
Challenges. I think more than anything, it's just not getting too high and not getting too low, right? Is when you first start in this new career, and it's the same. I think any as an entrepreneur or starting a small business, at the very beginning, everything means so much, and your first, your second, that's everything to you. Mm-hmm. So, and it's going to happen that somebody's going to reach out to you, no matter what you're doing. Somebody's going to reach out to you. It's feeling positive. Something happens because the person on the other side that you're talking to has a life as well. So things happen in their life, didn't work out, I'm not moving forward. Say in real estate, I want to buy this place and let's go, this is my first one ever. All of a sudden, it's not going to work out anymore. I'm not ready, whatever it might be. At the beginning, everything is so important. And when something like that happens, it's very easy to just think, sky's falling, like, oh man, I was so close, and now it's back to square one. So it's really just about understanding that it's going to happen. Just all depends on how you react. Mm-hmm. Like, just take everything as a learning experience, right? So there's going to be small things in every single person that you deal with. There'll be something that you can take away from it, and just because it didn't work out doesn't mean that it's a failure, right? Because it's only a failure if you give up. Mm-hmm. If you're trying something new, it didn't work out, we'll pivot.
Like that, yeah. It's at the end of the day, I think like with anything, like you said before when you started, it's like, people might look at it as like this glamorous lifestyle that you are living, and there's definitely biases of every industry that you have, right? Yeah. And I think it's just cool to hear a different side, because not everyone understands what it actually takes to do what sometimes a job actually does take. Yeah. I think we look at the outside and we see, I don't know, like you said, the person driving the nice car or whatever it may be, and it doesn't actually give you that vision and understanding of what's actually going on behind the closed doors. So, yeah. Speaking to that, though, I have a question in regards to, I know you said you were born and raised Mission, grew up in Mission. Do you do real estate outside of Mission? Are you like, how far are you going? Like, what's your kind of, I guess, geographical area that you would go to? Yeah,
so Mission's top on my list. I've been here 33 years, so I like to think I know a little bit about it. But no, I'd say I work in Mission, Maple Ridge, Langley, Abbotsford, and Chilliwack. Okay. Those are the cities that I've got a good grasp on. Like, I understand, every city has good areas and bad areas. There's pockets that are, where you want to be, and then there's other pockets that maybe we don't want to go there. So yeah. It's good. Wherever you're going to work, you need to understand all of those, because at the end of the day, we're helping humans. I know anybody you talk to in the real estate market, they always talk of, leads. How do you get more leads? We need more leads. Well, a lead is a person. A lead is a human. So if you're going to have somebody, you're going to work with them, you have to do your best. And if you have no knowledge about a city whatsoever, well, you better get some knowledge, because they're putting a lot of faith in you. Yeah. So wherever I'm going to work, I want to make sure that I know what I'm talking about, and make sure I'm doing the best that I can for them. Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I think it's a good way of looking at it, because, everyone's going to have a different goal. Everyone's going to have a different, I guess, view on where they want to live and where they want to stay. Some people might want to live in, like you said, a quote-unquote safer area. Some people might not care as much, right? Yeah. There's... so I think at the end of the day, it's interesting way of looking at it, because it's not just about the sale. It's about, well, is this person going to be happy? Are they going to actually want to work with me again? So what you just said there, the way I heard this from
I was at a conference a couple months ago, I think, and one thing that one guy said is he just, you know, and it resonated with me immediately because it's how I operate. Is, you know, I chase referrals, not sales. Chase referrals, and that is so much more valuable. If I do a good job for you, that gets around. Right?
Yeah, it's like, well, it's just like the gym, man.
Yeah.
Like, it's a lot of it is like you have someone that you trust that tells you something, that this person's good, or this facility is good, or this trainer is good, or whoever it is.
Yeah.
Well, you're more likely to inquire about that individual than if it was just a random person talking to a screen that you've never met.
100%.
It's that kind of, it's almost like that. They're like almost like the middleman in a way, in their decisions. So it's a good way of looking at it because it's, you know, it's funny because our industries are a little bit similar, obviously not the same, but a little bit similar in the way of like referral base or retention or leads or whatever you want to say at the end of the day. But I think it really just comes down to how you treat people and like 100%. That you show that you care and like, you know, not that you can be there for them every waking minute of every single day. That's not realistic, and I don't think it should be. But at least if you're there to, you know, help them or to, you know, communicate with them, or if they have a question, you're willing to answer, and it's not just like an automated whatever, and or like it's someone else answering the question. I think that's another really nice thing too, is if you have someone who is able to take the time with you, I think that shows a lot that someone cares too. So.
Treat others the way you'd like to be treated. There's a reason that they've been saying that saying for so long.
Yeah.
That's true. It's the truth.
Yeah.
It's all you have to do.
Yeah. And I think nowadays too, like it's it's a little bit more rare, and it's kind of, I think we live in a day and age that things, like you said, are very instant gratification, or a lot of things are either on socials, and I think socials are great for, like, again, outreach, getting your name out, getting new people, but I also think having a conversation like this isn't as rare anymore, I find, personally. That's like, you know, I do because it's in my day-to-day. Like, it's what I do, right? It's what you do. But if you look at most people don't have a conversation with people. Like, most people, their only conversation is, like, I have some individuals that I train that their only conversation, like a face-to-face, really is with me when they see me for that hour. Yeah. Right? Because their job is like they're in front of a computer, or, you know, they go home and maybe it's their spouse or their kids, but there's no other interaction, right?
Yeah, so you're kind of limited to your husband or your wife and your kids and boyfriend, girlfriend, and that's it, right?
Yeah. So I think at the end of the day, that's a really big quality, is like having that connection with someone, because it goes a long way, man. Like, you can be the best real estate agent in the way of, like, you can sell this, sell that, you bang that, but if it's like, I always look at it as too, as a trainer, you could be the best trainer, but if you can't relate to someone, you can't actually explain something to someone, you can't actually be there for someone, it's going to be really hard long term to keep that individual as someone that is going to want to reinvest in you later on.
100%. Right? Yeah, no, that's what it comes back to, like the whole personability thing. Like, you know, it takes a certain type of person to do certain types of careers. Yeah. Right? Like, I don't know, I go back to some of the foremen I had when I was working as an apprentice electrician. Like, at the very beginning, you know, I had one guy, I don't want to say his name, but you know, let's just say he's not going to be a realtor. He's not going to be a gym owner. Well, he might be a gym owner for some people if they just want to get, like, berated and, like, like that works for some people, but you know, it just depends on what you're doing. Like, you know, what works for somebody is not going to work for somebody else. But yeah, no, you just gotta, getting out there and talking to people goes a long way.
Yeah, I kind of want to pivot on the question in regards to the, you know, I like to hear everyone's opinions on the market or how it's going to go, but what are your predictions kind of around June, July, August area? We're looking at summer. What's some things that, you know, and again, I don't expect you to know exactly, but I always like to hear just like what people's thoughts are. So
Yeah, it's hard to say where the market's going to go. I mean, with a lot of people were waiting for the election to be over.
Yeah.
There's a lot of people that are unhappy with that, and there's probably people that are happy with that too. But I don't know where it's going to go. Like typically summer is when the market slows down. That's just how it happens every year.
Yeah, because people are chilling.
Yeah, and spring is also, the spring market is considered by everyone as like the cream of the crop. That's the best market. And this year, the spring market was not that. It was great for me. It was a great market for me. But for most people, I would say the general consensus was it was not a good year. And that's just a combination. There's so many things that have happened this year, you know, like tariff talks and the election. And so there is a ton of uncertainty and hesitancy. So I don't know where the market's going to go in June. And it doesn't matter who you ask. If somebody asks you where's the market going to be in 3 months and they tell you they know exactly where the market's going to be in 3 months, I would probably err on the side of caution when working with them, because, you know, I tell this to everybody. If we look back to January of 2022, we had Tiff Macklem, who's the governor of the Bank of Canada, at the beginning of January of 2022. He said, this is when rates were at historic lows. He said, rates will not go up. Everything's fine. We're good. Rates are not going to go up. So if you look back to the sales in 2022, they exploded from January up until March. Like it just took off like a rocket. And then what happened? Rates exploded. Yeah. There's a lot of people that they were going on that word. So what a lot of people ended up doing was they reached to get into that house that they wanted. Maybe the only way they could get in was by going variable because a variable rate was lower. Well, you know, this guy just told us, and he's the governor of the Bank of Canada. Like, he's our fearless leader. If anybody knows, it's him, right? Yeah. So he said we're not going anywhere with rates, so let's go buy that. And a lot of people got smoked on that one. So I don't like to tell people where the market's going to be in 3 months. I think the way you got to look at it is if you find a home or a condo or townhouse, whatever, if you find a property, you love the property, you run the numbers work, you're happy with that, well, then go for it. Mm-hmm. That's kind of how you have to go about things.
This is going to be maybe a contradicting question because of the industry you're in, but do you think there's times that you would recommend someone to rent rather than buy?
Yeah, just depends on it. It just depends on your situation. Right? Yeah. Like, you don't want to be house poor. And it just depends on numbers. If you can't afford it, don't reach to do it. That's it. So you just have to look at the numbers. That's it. Sometimes renting is the way to go right now.
Yeah.
Right? I mean, if you look historically, somebody that bought a house for however many years ago, well, they did pretty well on it. But even back then, you know, say in 2005 or whenever, when prices were a lot lower, there was still people that bought when they shouldn't have bought.
Yeah.
Right? So it's always situational.
Yeah.
So the fact that somebody can say, you know, buying is better than renting, it's not black and white. So, I mean, I'm happy I bought when I did, and it worked out for me.
Yeah.
But that is what happened to me. Mm-hmm. Might not be what happened to whoever else. Purely situational.
So like, my view on these things too is because I don't own a home.
Yep.
So I'm not someone who owns a home.
You need a realtor? No.
I don't. You know what, man?
No, you need to say yes or no right now. Yeah. No.
On camera.
Yeah. Can we document this?
Yeah. 10 years from now, when I'm like, oh yeah.
Hey, Jeremy, remember when you said
I do. I actually, this is maybe a cool conversation to have, because this is kind of like someone that hasn't bought a house.
Yeah.
And I'm in a spot where, how do I say this? I would say I'm ahead of my age if I'm looking at my friends and other people that I've grown up with. but I still don't feel comfortable buying, even though I'm in a position like that.
Yeah.
Do you think that the younger generation, and I know I'm not like too far off from your age, but how I view it is like I don't even feel comfortable even wanting to buy.
I understand. I get that.
So I guess my question just be like, how would you work with someone if they came to you like, you know what, I'm on the fence.
Yeah.
This is like how I see the things. This is how I see this is how I see the future. Like, how would you kind of have a conversation with someone about that?
Well, we'd have to sit down and talk about your goals, like what you want to do. I mean, I think there's a lot of people that I have talked to in the past that they don't want to get into something because, you know, this house or this townhouse that they're looking at, it needs a lot of work. And there's a lot of people that do want something that's shiny and new, and a caveat to that is, let me backtrack. The first place I ever bought, we had to reno the entire inside, and I knew that. And with buying something that needs to be completely renovated, well, then the price is going to reflect that, right? So for somebody like you, the one thing you have to consider is, again, talk about numbers. Like wherever you are right now, if you're living at home or if you're renting, whatever that might be. Let's say, for instance, you're renting.
I am renting.
Okay.
I'll tell you, I'm renting.
So let's say you're renting and you're just, let's give a $1,200 a month, for instance. So every $1,200 you pay your landlord. So that's $1,200 that goes out of your bank account and it goes into his bank account. The entirety of it goes into his bank account. So if you take that and then you look at buying a home, and let's say the place that you're buying, maybe it's $2,000. It ends up that your mortgage and everything ends up being $2,000 a month, right? So you're going to have to be paying insurance or interest. So out of that $2,000, your principal pay down may end up being, at the beginning, it's probably going to be less than half. So we'll call it $700 is actually going to principal pay down. Well, that's $700 that technically you're still saving, as opposed to giving the entirety amount, the $1,200 to your landlord. So the question becomes, if you're giving $1,200 to your landlord, are you saving any money on the side, or are you just spending it all?
Depending on what you're doing with your extra income.
Yeah. Like if you're in a good spot, you're paying $1,200 a month, and then you're putting $1,000 away a month,
like TFSA.
Yeah, whatever it might be, and you're happy with that. That's great. Again, we always go back to situational, but a good way to be able to save money without having to actually open up a separate account or anything like that is you can get a mortgage. And you can have that $2,000 mortgage, and you're inadvertently putting $700 away every month because that's paying down your principal, which is your money, because that's an amount that you're now owning. Does that make sense?
Yeah, no, it makes sense. Yeah. I heard also too, like I had someone, it was kind of an interest rate way of looking at it, like to be able to save either for like a down payment or something. They were like, live like you have a mortgage. So it's like, let's say you are paying, like you said, let's say $2,000, and your paying rent is $1,200. Then you put that $800 away in like a TFSA until you have the amount of money that you can for a down payment. So you kind of live.
That's the best way to do it.
Yeah, so that's what I've been told too, is like kind of live like you have a mortgage.
That's how when I first graduated, I was fortunate enough to stay living at home with my parents for, I can't remember how many years, maybe until I was 23. Okay. And what they told me is, you know, I got my job as an electrician, as an apprentice electrician, and they said, you can either pay us rent, or you can take that amount, $800, and you can pay yourself. And that's kind of like, that's that quote unquote, like live like you have a mortgage. So that's what I did. And I did that for 5 years. And then that gave me the ability to purchase a home. Now, keep in mind, that was, when was that? That was in 2015. So things changed. In 2015, I bought a house. Be a bit tougher to do that now because prices have gone up. But if you're trying to get into the market, you need to understand that there's ways that you can get in slowly, build equity. Like, don't be afraid to buy something that needs work. Because if you buy that place that needs work, you renovate it yourself. You're learning very important life skills on how to renovate something. That goes with you as you move forward in your life, right? So 1, you get to learn how to renovate. 2, typically how it goes is if I'm buying something that I need to renovate, the money that I put into it, it goes a lot further than if somebody else was to do that, right? Because the expectation is if I renovate this and I don't just do a lipstick reno, I actually do it properly, the money that I put into it, I'll be able to sell it for more.
Yeah, later on.
Right? Because it's the money that I put into it combined with the work that I put into it, right? You don't just buy paint and buy all the materials and then all of a sudden it's built. Somebody's got to do it. So you can either pay somebody to do it or you do it yourself and you reap the rewards of that.
Yeah, I like, well, and that's the interesting way, because I probably can think of a lot of people that would probably be willing to help too. Like
100%.
That's what I'm saying too, is like if you have, there's enough people that I've met
Yeah.
over the years that have the skills to, like you said, like an electrician. If I needed an electrician and I was like, hey, Nash, like,
Sorry, I'm a realtor now.
Yeah. Be like, nah, just kidding.
No, that was.
Or like,
yeah.
honestly though, if I called you and I'm like, hey, do you know anyone, or are you like,
Yes.
you would be like, yeah, I know someone or whatever.
Absolutely.
And again, it goes back to knowing someone, which then inherently would then that individual would help, right?
Yeah.
So, I just see it as that is like, that's a good way of looking at it. It's like you don't, I guess, have to buy the brand new fancy looking house all the time. It could be maybe not as optimal, but you do the modifications as you please.
Yeah. So I don't know if I really answered your question there of, you feel like is now actually a good time to buy, like, because I think it's fair to say that for a lot of guys, for a lot of younger people, it is seeming more and more and more daunting. And the way it was before is it's always been, if you talk to like parents and stuff like that, most people didn't buy their dream home right out the gate.
Yeah.
And even if they bought that dream property, they put an awful lot of work into it. And that's the way that we still have to look at things. The first place that you buy is not going to be the last place you live in. So don't be afraid to buy something. You always have to do your due diligence. You need to get a good realtor. There's deals out there. There's always deals out there. So if you can find something, put the work into it, you'll be able to make money off it. The first deal I ever did, I helped, like I said, a friend of mine. We bought a place in November, and he's renovated it. He's done a great job on the renos, and he bought it such a good time. He's probably made $100,000 off of it between just the appreciation over the timing, but combined with the amount of work that he put into it too.
Wow.
But realistically, if we just go off timing, from when he bought it to maybe selling it now, if he would have just left it the way it was, he probably still made $45,000.
Okay.
So there's always, that's why I say it's always situational. But I know it's daunting. I know it feels like things are out of reach, and they're not out of reach. We just need to pivot. We just need to reframe the way that we look at things, and we need to just start smaller, right?
What's I guess we'll talk Mission just because it's a little bit easier, but what are the average, I guess, condos, townhouses, houses going for nowadays?
In Mission, I mean, you can get depends. Mission doesn't have a lot of inventory as far as condos, so there's
a lot being built though.
There are, yeah.
From
There's
my understanding?
Yeah. There's a couple, but if we just go off the ones that are around right now, like you can probably in Mission, you can probably get a 2-bedroom condo for one that needs work for $370, $360.
Okay.
Depends. Maybe even a little bit less than that. But it depends on the building, right? Yeah. There's more sought after buildings. Like in my opinion, the best building as far as like bang for your buck, location, all of that is on 7th. It's Caroline Villa. There's another one called the Muse, which is overlooking Heritage Park. That's a really nice one as well.
Oh yeah, that one there.
But those
in that little cul-de-sac area.
But they're pricey. Like that's
Yeah.
a 2-bedroom condo for 650 to 700,000. Like
It's because the area.
yeah, it's the area.
Yeah.
It's you get to overlook Heritage Park. It's a beautiful spot, but it's a lot of money. Like that's a lot of money for a condo. So that's more than likely going to be for somebody who wants to downsize, right? But yeah, I mean, there's options out there. Just again, it goes back to situational. What works for you might not work for somebody else. You need to come up with a game plan, especially when you're at the. I mean, you need to come up with a game plan no matter what. No matter if this is your first home you've ever bought or it's you're moving from your 5th to your 6th home. You need to come up with a game plan. You can't go into any of it willy-nilly. But there's ways to do it.
I know this is a situational question as well, but if you can try to answer it, that'd be. But what would be like a good percentage down on a place if you're starting out to I would say like set you in a place where you're not going to be as, I guess, worried. And I know that's very situational, but like, is there like a kind of a industry standard?
Well, if you're looking at Mission and you're trying to, most people that are just getting started, they're probably going to get into a condo.
Yeah.
So
That's where I would look to first.
Yeah.
I would not look at a home first.
So
personally.
it really is situational. Like depending on how much money you have, you don't have to put down 20%. You can put down 5%.
Yeah.
But then that's going to be a reflection on what your mortgage payment is.
Yeah, for sure.
But the thing you have to look at is depending on where your money is, say you have it in a TFSA where it's building compound interest at 7%, whatever that might be. If you take that money out and then you put it into your house, what's going to gain you more money,
over
right?
time, yeah.
Right? Like if it's a matter of taking the full amount out of your savings account, and putting that into your home where that's going to drop your mortgage down, which is going to make your quality of life better. Well, what does that mean to you? Right? My quality of life is better, but now I'm not getting that 7% compound interest.
Yeah.
It's just options you have to weigh. And that's why it's so important to really make sure that you're talking with somebody who's going to ask you these questions. You don't want to just say, hey, I'm looking to buy a place. Let's go buy this one. And then, yeah, done deal. Like, you need to think about these things because you're setting yourself up for the rest of your life. It's the biggest decision you'll ever make in your life.
Do you what's the average age you see now as a home buyer? I'm guessing it's older.
No, it's different for me. Like I've got
Is it
variety.
like late 20s, early 30s now?
I mean, I was working with someone that was early 20s, late 20s. I just helped. It's different, but I would say the people that I'm speaking with are probably the people that I'm working with so far this year have been more like mid to late 20s
Okay.
for the most part. Yeah.
And do you find that most of those people are dual income or single income?
Mostly dual.
Dual, okay.
Yeah. Not all though. It's variety.
Yeah.
Like there's no, it's not a one size fits all thing
Yeah.
for all of it.
Yeah.
Can't paint any of it with the same brush.
Yeah. That's fair.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah, I guess we're kind of hitting about an hour mark here. Usually that's where with the podcast, the attention of everyone. So
Yeah.
But I do want to kind of just finalize off of, I know you had mentioned social media, things like that. But if there's any piece of advice, I know you gave some like advice on younger demographic, and that I really wanted to touch on that because not that I don't think an older demographic would be beneficial to this conversation, but most of the people that I work with that are, in their late 30s, early 40s have a house, most of them. So I think this was a good conversation too for people that are a little bit younger that, again, are feeling a little bit frightened on what the direction of things are going.
Yeah.
But is there any other maybe piece of advice that you have for the younger demographic or other real estate agents starting out, and then to like where can people find you? So
Okay, well, I'll start off with the one piece of advice for those that are younger, maybe in that 20 to 30 age group, but even just people that haven't gotten into the market and are feeling a little down about kind of where things are. Just have to try your best to have a positive mindset about it. Like, there is ways to get into the market, and just because you're getting into, like, just because the only thing that you may be able to afford is something that you don't want to live in, that's okay. It's not forever.
Yeah.
But if you are in and it makes sense and it works, that means no matter what happens to the market, if it goes up, you're in it. If it goes down, well, you're still in that too. Remember that what you're in right now, say you're wanting to sell and get into something else and you're having a hard time because the market has gone down, remember what you're buying, the market's gone down too as well. So, but the biggest piece of advice, and I wish I would have done this when I was in my 20s, is don't get upset about things that you can't control. Pivot. Like, just find a way to make it work, because all you're doing is you're expending energy on something you can't control. And you get all upset and frustrated and it's just a waste of time. It's a waste of time to just get upset and be pissed at the world because things are going the way that you didn't want them to go. Doesn't matter. They're going to go that way no matter you like it or not. So you need to just pivot. You need to find ways to maneuver yourself through there. I wish I would have done that. I mean, where you can find me is Instagram, TikTok, Facebook, just Nash Harrison Realtor, Nash Harrison Real Estate. Shoot me a DM, send me a message. Like, you don't have to message me if you're looking to buy a home. If you just have questions and you just want to figure out, man, where do I even start? Like, just shoot me a message. We'll grab a coffee. Coffee's always on me.
Cool. Sweet, man. Well, I just want to say thank you so much for your time, man, and for answering even some questions I had that were maybe a little bit more personal to me, but it was something that I really valued today, and appreciate your time. So
absolutely, yeah. Hopefully they made sense.
yeah. No, they did. They were good. Awesome. I just want to say also, for everyone listening today, thank you for listening to episode 38 of the North Star podcast with Nash, and I hope everyone has a great rest of your day.